Zhou Mingrue reeled back in fear. The person in the dressing mirror was not himself. It was as though he saw a desiccated corpse. How could a person with such grievous wounds still be alive? He turned his head in disbelief, checking the other side. Even from a distance, with poor lighting, he could still discern the penetrating wound and dark red blood stains. Zhou Mingrue drew a deep breath. He tried hard to calm himself. He reached out to press his left chest, sensing his racing heart. It exuded immense vitality. He then touched his exposed skin. Beneath a slight coldness was flowing warmth. When he squatted down, verifying his knees could bend, Zhou Mingrue stood up again. He felt calmer. "What's happening?" he muttered with a frown. He planned to inspect his head injury seriously once more. He took 2 steps forward and suddenly paused. The sanguine moon's light was relatively dark. It was insufficient for his serious inspection. A memory fragment triggered. Zhou Mingrue turned his head to look at the grayish-white pipes. A metallic grid lamp was on the wall beside the study desk. This was the most common gas lamp of the times. Its flame was stable, and its illumination capabilities were excellent. With Klein Moretti's family situation, even a kerosene lamp was a dream. A gas lamp was far beyond reach. Using candles was most apt for their standing. However, 4 years ago, when he burned the midnight oil to be admitted into Koei University, his elder brother, Benson, felt it was an important matter. Their family's future depended upon it. Benson insisted on creating conducive studying conditions for Klein, even if it meant taking on debt. Of course, Benson, literate and experienced, was not rash. He had tricks up his sleeve. He reasoned with the landlord to raise the apartment's standards. Installing gas pipes would improve rental likelihood. The landlord was convinced and provided money for basic modifications. Then, using his import and export company connections, Benson purchased a new gas lamp near cost price. In the end, he used his savings and avoided borrowing money. After the memory fragment flashed, Zhou Mingrue came to the desk. He turned the pipe's valve and began twisting the gas lamp's switch. With a sputtering sound, a spark sounded from friction. Light did not descend as he expected. He twisted the switch a few more times. The gas lamp only sputtered and remained dark. Retracting his hand, Zhou Mingrue pressed his left temple. He sought the reason by rummaging through memory fragments. A few seconds later, he turned and walked toward the door. He arrived at a machine installation, similarly inset into the wall. Grayish-white pipes connected to it. This was a gas meter. After seeing the exposed gears and bearings, Zhou Mingrue took a coin from his trousers pocket. It was dark yellow with a bronze shimmer. The front was engraved with a crown-wearing man's portrait. One was on a clump of wheat on the back. Zhou Mingrue knew this was the Lone Kingdom's most basic currency. It was called a copper penny. 1 penny's purchasing power was roughly 3 to 4 yuan before his transmigration. Such coins had other denominations: 5 pence, a half pence, and a quarter pence. Despite the 3 types, denominations were not small enough. In everyday life, one had to buy several different things to spend a single coin. After flipping the coin, minted after King George III ascended the throne, Zhou Mingrue inserted it into the gas meter's thin vertical mouth. Clink! Clang! After the penny fell, grinding gears sounded immediately. It produced a short but melodious mechanical rhythm. Zhou Mingrue stared at the meter for a few seconds. He then returned to the burly wood desk. He reached out to twist the gas lamp's switch. After some sputtering, there was a sharp sound. A fire plume ignited and rapidly grew. Bright light first occupied the wall lamp's internals. It then penetrated the transparent glass, blanketing the room with a warm glow. The darkness quickly receded. The crimson retreated out the window. Zhou Mingrue felt at ease for a baffling reason. He quickly came in front of the dressing mirror. This time, he seriously inspected his temple. He did not miss a single detail. After a few rounds of inspection, he realized that apart from the original blood stain, liquid no longer flowed from the grotesque wound. It appeared as if it had received the best hemostasis and bandaging. As for the slowly squirming grayish-white brain and discernible growth of flesh and blood around the wound, it meant the wound might take 30 to 40 minutes. Perhaps even 2 to 3 hours before it would only leave a light scar. The restorative effects that transmigration brings. Zhou Mingrui curled up the right corner of his mouth. He muttered silently. Following that, he let out a long sigh. Regardless, he was still alive. After settling his mind, he pulled open a drawer. He took out a tiny piece of soap. He took one of the old, tattered towels hanging by the cupboard. He opened the door. He then walked to the public bathroom, shared by second-floor tenants. Yes, he should clean up the blood stains on his head. Otherwise, he would keep looking like a crime scene. It was fine scaring himself. But if he were to scare his sister, Melissa, when she got up early tomorrow, it would be quite problematic. The corridor outside was pitch black. Silhouettes were barely accentuated by the crimson moonlight from the window at the corridor's end. They looked like a pair of monster eyes. They silently observed the living late into the night. Zhou Mingrui lightened his footsteps. He walked towards the communal bathroom with a shuddering fear. When he entered, there was even more moonlight, allowing him to see everything clearly. Zhou Mingrui stood in front of a wash basin. He turned the tap's knob. Upon hearing the gushing sound of water, he suddenly recalled his landlord, Mr. Frankie. As water was included in the rent, this short, thin gentleman, wearing a top hat, vest, and black suit, always inspected the bathroom actively. He noted any sounds of flowing water. If the water gushed too loudly, Mr. Frankie would ignore all his gentlemanly traits. He would flail his walking stick and strike the bathroom's door. He would shout things like, "Darn thief, wastage is a shameless matter, I'll remember you, if I see this happen another time, scram along with your filthy luggage, mark my words, this is the most value-for-money apartment in Tianjin City. You will not find a more kindly landlord anywhere else." Putting away those thoughts, Zhou Mingrui used a moist towel. He cleaned the blood stains from his face again and again. After checking himself using the rundown mirror in the bathroom, he verified that all that was left were a hideous wound and a pale face. Zhou Mingrui relaxed. Then, he took off his linen shirt. He used a bar of soap to wash away the bloodstains. At that moment, he knitted his brows. He recalled a possible problem. The wound was too exaggerated. There was too much blood. Apart from his body, his room likely still had signs of his injury. After Zhou Mingrui finished with his linen shirt a few minutes later, he briskly returned to his apartment with a moist towel. He first wiped the blood handprint on the desk. Then, using the gas lamp's illumination, he sought out spots he missed. He immediately discovered that a substantial amount of blood had splattered onto the floor beneath the desk. And there was a yellow bullet to the left side of the wall. Releasing a round with a revolver pointed at the temple. After mixing and matching the clues, Zhou Mingrui had a rough idea how Klein had died. He was in no hurry to verify his guess. Instead, he seriously wiped away the blood stains. He cleaned up the scene. Following that, he took the bullet and returned to the side of his desk. He opened the revolver's cylinder. He poured out the rounds inside. A total of 5 rounds and a cartridge shell all had a brass luster. Indeed, Zhou Mingrui looked at the empty cartridge shell. He stuffed the rounds back into the cylinder while nodding. He shifted his gaze to the left. It landed on the notebook's words, "Everyone will die, including me." Following that, even more questions arose in him. Where did the gun come from? Was it suicide or a faked suicide? What kind of trouble could a history graduate of humble origins get himself into? Why would such a suicide method only leave behind so little blood? Was it because he transmigrated in a timely manner, and it came with healing benefits? After pondering for a moment, Zhou Mingrui changed into another linen shirt. He sat on the chair and began pondering over more important matters. Klein's experience was still not something he needed to concern himself with. The true problem was to figure out the reason for his transmigration. And if he could return. His parents, relatives, best buddies, and friends. The fascinating world of the internet and all sorts of delicious delicacies. These were reasons that prompted his desire to return. Click. 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 Zhou Mingrue's right hand subconsciously pulled out the revolver's cylinder. He slammed it back into place, again and again. Yes, there had not been much difference for him between this period of time and the past. He was just a little unlucky. But why would he transmigrate for no baffling reason? Bad luck. Yes, he tried a luck enhancement ritual before dinner today. A thought flashed in Zhou Mingrue's mind. It illuminated the memories concealed by a fog of confusion. As a qualified keyboard politician, keyboard historian, keyboard economist, keyboard biologist, and keyboard folklorist, he had always deemed himself as knowing something of everything. Of course, his best buddy would often mock him as only knowing a little of everything. And one of them was Chinese divination. When he visited his hometown last year, he had discovered a thread-bound book. It was titled Quintessential Divination and Arcane Arts of the Qin and Han Dynasty at an old bookstore. It looked pretty interesting and could aid him in posturing on the internet, so he bought it. Unfortunately, his interest was short-lived. The vertical script it used made the reading experience horrible. All he did was flip through the beginning pages before he threw it into a corner. He had experienced a spate of bad luck in the past month. Losing his cell phone, customers running away after cheating him, and mistakes at work. Only then did he suddenly recall the luck enhancement ritual written at the beginning of Quintessential Divination and Arcane Arts. Furthermore, the requirements were extremely simple, without any basic foundation requirements. All he needed was to get 4 portions of the staple food in his area. He would place them in the 4 corners of his room. They could be placed on furniture such as tables and cupboards. Then, standing in the middle of the room, he had to take 4 steps in a counterclockwise fashion to make a square. The first step required him to sincerely chant blessings stem from the immortal Lord of Heaven and Earth. The second step was to silently chant blessings stem from the Sky Lord of Heaven and Earth. The third step was blessings stem from the exalted the Arch of Heaven and Earth, and the fourth step was blessings stem from the celestial worthy of heaven and earth. After the 4 steps were taken, he needed to close his eyes. He would wait 5 minutes in his original spot. Only then would the ritual be considered complete. Since it did not cost him any money, he found the book. He followed what was stipulated and did it before dinner. However, nothing happened back then. Who would have guessed that he would actually transmigrate in the middle of the night? Transmigration. There is a distinct possibility that it's due to that luck enhancement ritual. Yes, I should give it a try here tomorrow. If it's really because of that, I stand a chance of transmigrating back. Zhou Mingrue stopped flicking the revolver's cylinder. He suddenly sat straight up. Regardless, he had to give it a try. He had to attempt a Hail Mary.